Hello and welcome to tonight's episode of Expedition Dogman. My name's Jamie and I will be your host for this evening. I hope you're enjoying this series so far, and if you are, please consider liking, commenting and subscribing to this channel, as this will help us grow the channel and hopefully get into the YouTube algorithm so we can get the Dogman out there and prove once and for all about their existence. Now, anyways, on to tonight's episode. The case of the LBL, the supposed witness, Rodger. I did mention on, not last week's episode on the live stream, but on the one before that, about Rodger. Who is he? Well, to fully understand him, he's a supposed witness to the massacre of the LBL and to what truly happened. So, to begin with, I will give you the account again of the LBL and the massacre that happened there. Then, I will give you Rodger's take on what happened, and then we will analyse this and show once and for all whether Rodger is indeed fact or faked. Anyways, the case of the LBL. In 1975, a family of four went camping, close towards the end of the camping season in an RV, and apparently they were brutally murdered, but their bodies were found by a couple driving home. They didn't hang around long, so they hurtled down to the gas station, rang the police, and carried on driving until they were home. The police, a few hours later, of course, attended the scene, and the story picks up, and you'll find this all over YouTube, about the two police officers that were in the gas station. The attendant saw them sitting there quietly, and it looks like they were contemplating, even though they was as white as ghosts. Eventually she came over to the two police officers, sat with them, and asked them if they were okay. And they said, no, we're not okay. They said this eventually, because to begin with, they didn't want to speak. I wonder why, to be honest. But apparently, the beast of the LBL attacked an RV van. It killed the father and the son, and the woman was apparently the one that dragged it in. That's the leading theory on it, due to the cologne. We've mentioned before on Expedition Dogman about cologne, tobacco, and other musky smells drawing these creatures in. But to carry on with it, it then proceeded to rip the door off the hinges of the RV, leaving it hanging by one hinge, by the way, just so we clarify that. And it mutilated the mother, grabbed the young child, well, the young girl in fact, and hurtled off, well, away with her, mutilated her body, ripped her limb from limb, and hung her in the trees. Now, that in itself is spooky. There is no mention of any government, but we'll get to that. Anyway, now I will tell you Rodger's account of the LBL. I will also link, if I can find it, the original video that he gave to, I think it was to Paranormal Roundtable if I remember rightly, about what happened. Apparently, he was friends, because he was only young at this point apparently, with the two Amish kids. And this is an Amish family apparently. And they was about to go travelling because they'd sold their house, got a fair whack of money for it, then bought an RV and went travelling. So at this point, they've got an RV, and they've got X amount of money left in the RV in cash, and they ended up in the LBL, close to the end of season. They packed up, set camp, the kids were playing while the dad was chopping firewood. The woman was wearing cologne, and this is what Rodger tells us. Well, then they saw it. Well, 2 or 3 of these creatures. This goes to the theory that there is a dogman breeding ground in the LBL, which I quite believe that bit. He goes on to say how it attacked the child. So obviously the father tries shooting it, point blank range. It chops the dad's head off, and at this point he goes running under the RV. He hears the commotion inside of the door being ripped off and the woman being murdered. But apparently, it wasn't the child found in the tree. Apparently, it was the creature, according to him. How would he know unless he went looking at a while afterwards? Anyway, he started hiding under the tree, under the RV even. So this then fits into the part where the people find the body, call the police. The police start doing investigations, and apparently the government then show up. Well, the men in black, the black government vans, etc. show up. He gets debriefed about what this creature really is, and then driven to the local airport to be flown home. There's a lot that doesn't add up with his tale. From the original account that the police give to his, there's a lot to me that doesn't add up. The only bit that is believable is that the government showed up and killed the creature. Which then goes back to what we talked about in the government cover-up theory. The fact that they don't want people knowing that these creatures are in the national forests or the national parks, because this would lose them a lot of money. But let's rewind to the start of his story. 1. How do we know they're Hamish? He says they're Hamish. The family in the RV, fair enough, I can accept that. But the bit that gets me about all this, to begin with, is when he talks of being under the RV when this happened. And when the police give their account, there is no mention of a fifth person. Even if it was covered up, surely the 2 police officers that were sat in the gas station would have mentioned a fifth person if he was actually there. Also, how do we know it was Cologne that dragged these creatures in? As we know from previous encounters that we've looked at, this thing can just start circling people. Maybe this family was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Who knows? He could be fact, he could be faked. But the bit that gets me is, in the original tale, there's no dead beast around. So how do we know it was shot? And not just that, this is the bit that gets me. The big bit that gets me is the fact that he says it was the creature in the trees torn limb from limb, with the girl's clothes around. Whereas in the original account, it's the girl ripped limb from limb. I'm sorry, but I'm more inclined to believe 2 scared police officers over a witness. Because the police are the first hands on the scene. They see things as they are. And when 2 human beings are as terrified as these police officers were, to me their account, looking at it through a parapsychology point of view, is more correct than a supposed witness. So, I did mention I'd talk about my theory for a little bit as to what Rodger is. Personally, I know this is going to be controversial, but this is my true opinion. And it'd be interesting to hear your comments in the comment section down below. But my theory is, this Rodger person has researched into the LBL, saw this story, and he's implanted it himself into it. Because there is too much that he says that doesn't make sense. And there is a lot of people kicking off. I'm in quite a few groups on Facebook, and one of the groups said we're going to have Rodger on. Now, when they put that post up, there was a massive riot about this. I'm not the only one out here who thinks he's faked. I think he's researched the LBL, implanted himself into the story. I don't know what sickness is going through his head. Why would you implant yourself into a massacre? You wouldn't. Personally, I think he's just after his 15 minutes of fame. But why do it with the LBL? Unless he's trying to get the truth out there to a degree. Granted, I personally think his is a twisted truth, but that's just my opinion. But what do you guys think? I'd be interested to hear what you believe of Rodger. I will leave it in the in the description the link to the original LBL witness video, and I will leave you lot to make your own minds up whether you agree with me or you agree with Rodger. But until next time then, my friends, be aware of the howl.